I had all my questions for you, and then we had this meditation this morning, and you brought up something that was very uncomfortable, and I think that's what wants to be here instead. So let me see if I can verbalize it. I looked in the bottom of that well, and I found not so much fear, but I found loss and sadness. I have lost my daughter to alcohol and addiction, and she's still alive, but not alive, you know. And it's very, very painful. And so the thing I have looked at is letting go of feeling guilty or now responsible, as all mothers probably do in these cases. But I know there is still some sadness that wants to come and wants to be some way freed or born or seen or whatever. So I thought, this is the perfect place. And I'm asking everybody here in this room with their open, loving compassion to support whatever transformation wants to take place here, whatever it wants to see. And I think you mentioned something about bringing it close.
Yes. Yes, bring it out of hiding.
Yeah. Out of shame.
Out of shame,
yes.
Out of guilt, out of all this time that you've kept this sorrow and grief at bay. To take the lid off. Do the opposite. Invite it. Befriend it. Invite it to come close. It's only a danger when it is at a distance from you.
Yes. I remember trying to look at this, and what happens is the story gets in the way, but if I leave the story alone and just deal with this...
Don't look at it. You can only look at something that is at a distance from yourself. Oh. It's got to be closer than looking at it.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Take your finger now. You can look at your finger, yeah? Bring it closer. 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 The only time you can't look at it is when there is no distance between your eye and your finger. And don't look at your feelings. But bring them closer than that. Looking at them keeps them at bay.
I see.
Keeps them at bay. This is my sorrow. This is my sadness. In fact, it's only possible to label a feeling, sorrow or grief or shame, if it is at a distance from ourselves. The closer it comes to ourselves, the less easy it is to label it. And when it is one with ourselves, then there is just a certain intensity to the experience, but we don't know what the experience is. You will not even know that the feeling is sorrow, let alone unpleasant. There will just be this raw intensity of experience from which there is no impulse to separate yourself or get rid of it. We normally think that the way to deal with feelings is to push them further away. But we know that doesn't work. It's the opposite.
Yeah.
The way to deal with a feeling is to bring it so close. You know the story of the Frog Prince?
Yes.
You all know the story of the Frog Prince.
Please tell it again.
I'll tell it in brief. The princess who is playing in the royal garden with her golden ball, and she throws it, but it lands by mistake in the royal pond, and she can't get it, and she's terribly upset. And so there just happens to be a frog in the pond at that time who notices how upset the princess is. So the frog asks the princess why she's so upset. She said, I've lost my beautiful golden ball in the pond. And he said, okay, I'll retrieve it for you on one condition. And that is that you let me sleep on your pillow. And she's so keen to get the ball back. She says, yes, sure, of course, anything. So the frog retrieves the ball, gives her ball. She forgets about the frog immediately. She runs back to the palace, and she's having dinner with the king. And there's a knock on the door. It's the frog.
Yes.
So the frog hops up onto the table and reminds the princess of her promise. So the princess is very embarrassed and explains to the king, so that the frog is allowed to stay for dinner. And then the princess says, okay, now go, out you go. And the frog says, no, you promised to let me sleep on your pillow. So reluctantly the princess lets the frog sleep on her pillow. So the frog is on her pillow and princess is sleeping, and then the princess hears this noise, and the frog says to her, will you give me a hug, will you? So the princess...
this gets better all the time.
What?
This is getting better all the time.
So the princess overcomes her antipathy to the frog and brings the frog close, hugs him and gives him a kiss, and then falls asleep. When she wakes up in the morning, there's this beautiful, handsome prince in bed next to her. So you have to kiss the toad. And you have to kiss that which is most repulsive to you. And then it turns into that for which you have always longed. Yeah. So you kiss your sorrow. Bring it closer than close. And at its very heart, you will find the peace that you previously sought by avoiding it.
And that's some kind of transformation that only grace can do. I can't make it happen. No.
No, you see, this bringing close of the feeling seems to be something that we do. In fact, it's not. What we do is pushing experience away. So it is actually, what seems to be a doing, a bringing the feeling close, is in fact the cessation of an old habit of rejecting the feeling. Yeah. The feeling is already close, in fact. All experience is utterly intimately one with awareness. So we don't have to make that happen. But what we have been doing all our lives is pushing the feeling away.
I see.
But we don't realize it. We're so habituated to pushing the feeling away that we think that the distancing ourselves from our feelings is the natural state, and that to bring them close is something we have to do. No, it's the opposite. This utter intimacy of awareness with experience, so intimate that awareness cannot separate itself from its experience and know what it is, let alone know whether it is unpleasant or not. That is the natural condition. And it is this pushing away that is something that we, as apparently separate selves, do. So it's not really a doing. It's you can't make it happen. You're right. It's really a surrendering or letting go of the resistance to experience, and then experience will. Everything seeks the light. Have you ever travelled in southern Europe and watched how the sunflowers just trace the light across the sky?
Yes.
It's the same thing. Everything is seeking light. So these feelings are, if left alone, that is, if we don't resist them, they will naturally come back. Because everything seeks liberation in the light of awareness. So these feelings are longing to return to their source. Yes. So all you need to do is just cease resisting them. You don't have to work at bringing them. They will just come back. Soon as the sun is over the well, the sun doesn't work hard at waking up. They just wake up and they bubble up to the surface.